everyone. I'm currently in Charlotte, North Carolina. I just flew in today, and let me tell you, it was a very turbulent flight. I'm in one of my favorite spots in the city, and I'm sipping some orange wine, which is, I feel like, a newer type of wine. And whenever I see it on someone's menu, I always need and have to try it. So this one's pretty crisp. Let's give it a slurp. Mm. She's not my favorite orange, but why not just give it a holler and a taste? Anyways, we're in someplace new. I'm not in Nairobi, Kenya anymore. I returned home and I've been home with my family for a little bit, and it's just been so exciting. My sister gave birth to a little girl, and it's the first newborn in the family, and it's just such a great energy. She's so tiny and so adorable and beautiful. I am obsessed with her. So ant life has been fun. But let's get into the artist way. So I have completed week 8 of the artist way, and I have reflected a lot on this week, had a lot of really great and introspective journal sessions, my morning pages, and I really liked this chapter. So this chapter was called Recovering a Sense of Strength, and it's all about surviving your artist's losses, your artistic losses, as well as how to bounce back from that, where to put your power and pursuits into, and what to put it into, and what to do just to make your dreams actually attainable. And towards the end of the chapter, it kind of asks you to go into your past and write about your childhood and a few other different things of what maybe set you off earlier, whether it was a parent, a teacher, or someone that you received criticism from that deterred you from actually fulfilling your dream. And I think that's what's most hurtful is there's so many people in our lives that could really kind of determine of where we end up in the future, whether it's for good or for bad. Sometimes it just takes one word or one sentence from someone that you actually look up to that is negative, and you just completely shut down whatever you thought you were going to do. But anyways, let's get into it. So week 8, I have a lot of things underlined per usual. I took some notes in my journal. So let's begin. Survival. Julia Cameron touches about artistic loss and how we have to acknowledge it and share it with others and ourselves and not bury it down, never uncover it again. It's kind of when you hurt yourself physically, when you sprain your ankle, and then in school you have to wear one of those casts and walk around with it. And that actually was pretty fun back in the olden days when you were younger because you get all the attention. All the kids are asking, oh my gosh, what'd you do? Why are you wearing this cast? And you get to get out of class early and whatnot. But you obviously acknowledge that something happened and you're sharing it with your classmates of, oh, I was playing football and I got tackled and this happened, or I was doing a backflip and landed wrong, whatever it may be. And we're not afraid to share. Well, it depends on the circumstance, obviously. Some things are definitely bigger than others, but with artistic losses, I feel like those tend to be pretty shameful for most of us. We're ashamed to say that we failed, or what we think was a failure, because you have to remember that nothing is really a failure. Everything is for the experience and it helps you in one way or not. So you have to realize that you can't focus on other people's perspectives of you or even the perfectionist perspective you may have of yourself. Things go wrong all the time, and you can't have a stellar performance every time you try something. That's just how life works. It goes up and down. It ebbs and flows, especially in our artistic pursuits, because it's a little bit more risky since it's not the traditional path and it's not as easy to get into. It takes a lot of grit and work on your end and a lot of confidence and self-empowerment. So when you have someone that maybe criticizes you, or something that doesn't work out that you were hoping would get stellar reviews, or that you know that was not the best of your ability, do not let that discourage you. Move forward, acknowledge it, share it, and move forward. And it's about surviving those losses and not dwelling in it and not burying it and never coming back to it. So don't let other people's expectations dictate your actions. Especially in the artistic world, people sometimes have a pretty linear path to what creative perfectionism actually is, especially when you're following a creative pursuit at university. Obviously, there are rubrics and professors grade upon what they think is right, but creativity especially is so hard to have just one solid answer to. It looks different for everyone. So don't let that hinder you, and that's why I'm kind of a skeptic of following creative pursuits at university. I think it's a better thing to do as a side hustle or on your own, to not let people put you in a box or tell you what's right versus wrong, since it looks so different for everyone. And teachers, especially from a young age, can either destroy our confidence or help us tremendously. And it sucks when you have an awful teacher or professor who really criticizes all of your work or is jealous even of your work and tears it up in front of you and always has a whole list of things that you could be doing better. That's not fair to your artist self. Just remember that not everyone in this world is an encourager. So try and surround yourself people outside of work or outside of your school or wherever it may be. Find friends that actually encourage you to pursue your creative craft and encourage you to go after your dreams and tell you that you're doing a great job and that they're proud of you and that you're going and taking the right steps. And even though it may be risky, they're still by your side, and that's what's most important. So try and find people like that around you. Artists also tend to forget or extinguish their dreams or ideas for more traditional roles or jobs. I remember saying as a child that I would love to be an actress. I also had this one journal, like this notebook, where there was these women drawn out, just like stencils of women. And it was one of the fashion notebooks that you can draw in your own fashion designs, dresses, and oh my gosh, I loved that book. And I would play or draw in that journal all the time. I just remember like going up to my parents, showing them my latest gown creation, and being so excited about it. And I was just such a creative child. I also would force a lot of my friends to come over and do arts and crafts with me or play outside. I was never really that much of a video gamer, although we do some of that too, but it was a balance. Every time I hung out with someone, it most likely involved an arts and craft activity that I either found browsing the internet on Pinterest or just through the tools that we had at home or something I saw on YouTube. And I'm just so proud of little me for doing that, and for my parents for somehow instilling that in me, that creativity and that love for making things and also baking things. And I really want to tap back into that. Yes, I do it a little bit at my older age. And yes, it is hard because I do have a traditional role and I am working a corporate job and I'm busy all throughout the day. But I don't think I do a great job of maximizing my time during the week and weekends. Obviously, now I'm with family, so it's a bit more difficult, but I think that's also another excuse. What I want to try and do and be better at is really dedicating thorough time to my crafts after work and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to be doing today, and there's no ifs, ands, and about it. I will be painting today, even if it is only for 45 minutes. And I don't care what the outcome is because it's all about the process. And I think what's stuck in my head is if I start something, I have to finish it right there and then. Otherwise, I'm scared I won't pick it up again. but that's a fault of my own. I can pick it up even the next day, especially if I make time and dedication to these artistic crafts every single day. So this is something I definitely want to start doing, and I need to tell myself that I don't have to finish it right there and then. I will have tomorrow to work on it once again. Also, I'm in this garden right now. So my favorite place here, it's a garden where you can bring your own food, but they serve coffee and wine. And so you could probably hear the birds chirping. And it's so nice because I just came from Chicago where it was pretty cold. And it's spring here, and there's pollen dusting my phone. The flowers are blooming here. There's daffodils, and it feels great. It's over 80 degrees, so it's amazing. Towards the end of the chapter, Julia Cameron notates kind of what I just touched upon of dedicating time to your craft and artistic abilities every single day. An excuse that we tend to give ourselves a lot is age and time. And what she literally writes here is she gives examples of, once I do this, I will finally have time to dive into this craft. Or once I leave my husband, I'll have more time to do this and the ability to move to a new city. Or once I do this, for example, like I know in week 7 I mentioned, oh my gosh, I've been doing nomadic life for so long, but once I have a home and an apartment in one place, then I could focus on all my creative pursuits that I want to focus on. And yes, that may be true to a little bit because I'll have all my things in one area, and that makes it definitely a lot easier. But that's not necessary, and that's just another excuse of not pursuing a creative act every single day. Instead, I need to get it out of my head that something has to happen in order for me to dive into creativity. That is not true. And we give our excuse of not having enough time, or we're too old, or we're not good enough a lot of the times. And the funny thing here is that Julia Cameron notates that some of her best students have actually been those who came to their work late, meaning that some of her best students, even at university, are those that are at older age in their 40s or even 50s, amongst the majority of students who are in their very early 20s taking the same exact course, but they have so much worldly experience to bring into the course, and also they are just so highly determined, and they know exactly what they want to get out of the class, and they're there to really really learn, and like a sponge to take everything into consideration. Whereas younger students just may think this is another course to knock off the curriculum that they have to take in order to graduate. So never give yourself the excuse that you're too old. And what I love that she says here is that we have to be comfortable at being a beginner. If I want to learn how to ice skate right now or throw pottery, why not? Obviously, there will always be people better than you, but you have to be comfortable with just being a beginner and not caring if anyone's judging or criticizing you around you, because while there may be some people who may be doing that, for the majority of people are there just looking at you and just being inspired by you, or just amazed, and or just admiring. Most people are not mean, and once you go up and talk to them and start a conversation, they open up and that criticism falls away. So just the grace to be a beginner is always the best prayer for an artist. So if you have difficulty starting something new because you are making up excuses, just start praying to God and just say you need the grace to be a beginner. Please help me, God, be comfortable with this, and let me be open to the humility that will come with it. And I'm just excited for all the opportunities I will get through this and the people I will meet. It's definitely a scary step, as all things are in the very beginning, but the most important thing, as most people say with anything, is that you just have to start. Here also, Julia Cameron notates that no creative act is ever finished. You can't learn to act because there's always more to learn. Arguably, you cannot even direct a film because you will always be redirecting it even years later. And that means even if it's in your own head that you're redirecting it and thinking of what could have been done better. That's why you have to focus on the process. Our creative life retains a sense of adventure. Focus on the product, the same creative life can feel foolish or barren. You have to think about it. what she says here is it's much cooler to say that you're working on a film or a video or you're working on a painting rather than I have painted a painting or I have written a screenplay. And I love this paragraph. This spoke very highly to me. So you really have to focus on the process because that's the most interesting part for you and for others. So make it a goal each day to do something. And like she says here, there's always one action you could take for your creativity daily. And you have to do the small tasks, you have to do the work. You cannot create a huge painting on the ceiling of your house like Michelangelo right away. You have to do the small things and fill in every single small detail of that painting. You have to sketch it out. You have to have a vision first. Then you sketch it out. Then you fill in the gaps. You erase, you redo. Then you start filling in every single person and star and detail on there until finally it's finished. Well, that's day by day. So you can't fantasize about pursuing your art full time. We fail to pursue it part time or at all. That is me. Creative life is grounded on many, many small steps and very, very few large leaps. However, no one is asking you to leap. That's just drama. And for the purposes of a creative recovery, drama belongs on the page or on the canvas or in the clay or in the acting class or in the act of creativity, however small. I just want you to ponder on that paragraph from Julia Cameron for a little bit. Also, going back to the beginning of the chapter of everything is for the experience and that a silver lining always exists through the pain and through your sufferings and loss. Here it says the trick is to metabolize the pain as energy. The key to doing that is to know to trust and to act as if a silver lining exists if you are only willing to look at the work differently or to walk through a different door, one that you may have balked at. In order to catch the ball, you have to want to catch the ball, the film director John Cassavetes once told a young director. Hearing this, I took it to mean stop complaining about the lousy curves you get thrown and stretch. Reach for what you really want. I have tried to follow this advice, Julia Cameron says. You really have to kind of walk full force into it, know what you want, and you have to actually be willing to accept when it actually happens because it will happen. Opportunities will appear. And for example, going back to the Australia thing, I am still so torn of whether to move and take a job in Australia or stay and build a life here. The more difficult thing is now that there's actually a role that opened up and they are in dire need of people to be working it, and it aligns with my experience perfectly. Someone connected me with other people to talk to from the firm, and she also spoke so highly about her experience in Australia. She highly recommends it. The only thing that's holding me back is that I'm in a relationship and I have a family here, and now I have a newborn niece, and oh, it's a very difficult decision because on the one hand, I have been exploring and having fun with my life for the last few years, moving around and trying to get to know all these new places. And Australia would be just a stepping stone and somewhere that I could actually develop into an older version of me and maybe a better person of myself and stay there for 2 years and get to know the area and be in one place for a little bit, just like I'm planning to do here. But that would also mean being so far away from the people I love. And I just don't know which way to go. I don't know if by not choosing to go to Australia, if I am crushing my own dreams and not pursuing my artistic endeavors, or is it vice versa? If I do go, am I running away from that life that will give me that? That's difficult. And it's something that I need to really, really pray about and just keep thinking about. Because earlier this week, I thought I would stay, and I just keep getting connected with more people, and more people are speaking very highly about the experience, and it's tough to be in this position. And I never thought I would be in this position. I also never thought I would stay for a boy, and now that's my life. Anyways, so Julia Cameron talks about taking action and turning pain into action even if it's one day at a time, but also just making sure that you do at least something, because something can always be done, whether for the dream that you're wanting to chase, even though you may be suppressing that dream at the current moment. So how am I going to do this? I want to step back into my curriculums. So a few months ago, I started doing monthly curriculums based on someone's TikTok that I saw. And what you do for the curriculum is you literally a list of things that you want to conquer and learn about that month. And it could be anything from the books you want to read, the things you want to study on your own, or the creative pursuits that you want to pursue that month. So what I want to do this month is half of the month I will actually be spending with family, and the latter half of the month I will be going on a road trip, which I'm so excited about. During that road trip, as well as when I'm home, I got this watercolor set that's a travel one. It's very small and quaint, so it's easy to pack anywhere. And I want to take that with me, and I want to watercolor scenes at least once a week in the month of April, starting at home and then somewhere along on my road trip and once I reach my destination. I also want to shoot a roll of film. I have a point and shoot film camera, and I have a few rolls of film. So I thought, why not at least shoot one? And I think that would be so fun to do, especially on my road trip, and just get some epic shots. I also want to edit and post more videos, even if they're not great. Maybe that's just in my mind. I also just feel like no one really enjoys my videos. Views are very, very low, especially on my travel vlogs. And I just don't know if they're just not interesting, or if I'm editing them in a bad way, or what it is. But regardless, I will only get better through practice. So I want to aim to edit and post every single week. And that's a lot of work, and it's tough. I've never been able to do that in the past, but that's what I want to strive for. I kind of want to balance of, okay, artist way video and then a travel vlog. Because I literally have videos from 2 years ago, from my when I started my nomad journey, even 3 years ago. I have so many videos that have yet to be edited. I also want to start relearning French and listening to it more. So even on my drive, podcasts or French films, just in general, want to surround myself with more French again. Then I want to read a book, a fiction book. I do have a book by Anne Patchett. I think it's called The Commonwealth. I read her book called Tom Lake, which I adored that book. That's definitely one of my favorite books. So I want to try reading this other one. And then I also want to take Meditations by Marcus Aurelius on my road trip into my next destination. I don't want to have the goal of finishing that book, just because I think it's very heavy. There's so many lessons to be learned from that book. So I just want to take pieces out, flip to maybe a new page, and see how it speaks to me. We're going to take creative action starting now. And Julia Cameron says to ask how or what's next, instead of why me, why is this happening to me, or why would it happen to me, like I'm not good enough. Just ask how is it going to happen, and once you complete that dream, ask what's next. Most of us experience imposter syndrome or dwell on something negative that someone once told us. Let's get out of that and get out of our shell. Beat the imposter syndrome, or just go against it. There will always be friction, and just go after it. Go do it. And of course, Julia Cameron also mentioned in this chapter that you have to be crazy to be an artist or pursue these things, because they are so risky. Not a lot of people do these things. Obviously, so many people follow the traditional route, and I'm following the traditional route, but that doesn't mean you can't pursue these things outside of work. And it makes you such a much more cooler person if you are doing that outside of work, and you can balance both of them instead of just sitting on your couch watching TV or drinking a lot or whatever it may be. So I encourage you all to start doing one creative action every single day, as Julia Cameron says. Keep doing your morning pages. Keep learning. Maybe also create a monthly curriculum for yourself for the month of April, and see what opportunities come your way. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. Yeah, I'm just so happy to be here, and welcome spring.